Everyone, welcome back to 2 Hours on a Sunday. I'm Brian.
And I'm Nick.
And the other day, I received an urgent call from Jedi, and he warned me of an imminent danger that would destroy the digital world. And I thought I couldn't do this by myself, so I had to invite other Digidestin to join me on this adventure to save the world. So we have Adria and Dayna back in the studio to help us.
That's us.
Hello.
And we all grew up with, obviously, Pokemon, but there was another, some people say knockoff, but I would disagree, another animated show called Digimon. And we all thought, why not hop on here? Because we all have very fond memories of Digimon the movie.
Absolutely. Now, this movie, I was into Digimon in terms of the action figures in the TV show. I like the little figures, not not anything big.
Like the Pokemon ones.
Yeah, exactly. They're
they came
little
in like
plastic
Taxes
guys
2 or whatever.
Yeah. And I remember watching that show, I think, almost as much, if not more, than Pokemon. And there was just something about it. There was, I think, the art style was a little bit more my speed. It definitely had that, now is that nostalgic anime feel.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little goofier and was a little bit, I don't know, it just felt fresher because not every episode was very similar. It wasn't, Ash fighting Team Rocket or them like revealing themselves and then doing a battle. It was a little bit different each time, I think.
I think because every 13 episodes, there was like an arc. So
yes.
The characters would go on some kind of journey, grow, and then they'd fight the big bad. But then something would happen, especially in season 1 when everything was in the digital world, that every new villain would kind of cause problems and they would have to, each character had their kind of own separate storylines to build towards something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with Pokemon, you could jump in any episode, like turn it on and understand. And Digimon, you could to an extent. There was like the overarching stories, but they definitely like needed to be watched, I think, in order.
Now, I feel because Pokemon usually only had 3 characters, you had your choices, right? But Digimon, there was 10 plus main characters, and I feel that aided to gathering people to watch the show because they each could identify with a certain character rather than just the one main. So who is your favorite character, or who do you identify with the most?
Of course, Sora is my favorite girl. I loved her. My classic favorite for any single cartoon that I ever watched was I liked the girl that had red hair. Because our mom had red hair and I always wanted it. The Little Mermaid, etc. Sam from Totally Spies. So Sora was my favorite. I thought she was tough and kind of like, she had like this attitude that I really wanted because I was just a soft, shy girl. So I loved her. I loved Biomon. I guess we'll get into the evolutions later. I do not like Biomon's second evolution because it's scary. I only like the cute versions. And then I was also in love with Matt because I had a huge crush on blonde hair, blue-eyed boys. And I liked the other available girl, Mimi, and I liked her because she was pretty and she had pink things, which also was a defining factor for what I liked. I do like Palmon as Adria said, in the cute form. And I love TK, or not TK, sorry. I love Izzy was my crush as a kid. So, which I brought up when Nick and I were watching some clips last night because I was like, oh, he's so cute in the movie. Really played into the boys you would later find cute, the nerdy, like, it's true. They're all based on Izzy, so that's good.
That's hilarious. I think Izzy is also like my favorite character now, but I remember very specifically when I watched it as a kid, Matt was always like super cool.
Oh, yeah.
He was the quiet, brooding character.
Whipping out that harmonica.
Yeah.
For me, I think you all know that I'm a main character guy in every show.
Yep.
And as much as Ty is obviously my favorite character, voice-wise, look-wise, Digimon-wise, but I think growing up, even though I love Ty, I think I identified more with Matt just because I was the quiet kid who had that brooding essence if you didn't actually talk to me. So I feel I identified more with the quiet types like Matt compared to the energetic leadership values that Ty had, even though that's what I wanted to be.
Totally.
Right.
That's why I liked you. Your bad boy
I was
vibes.
wordy. Yeah.
Nobody's favorite was Joe.
Ugh, Joe.
Who's Joe?
The
Joe.
blue-haired boy.
Nick, that was you in school. Let's be real.
That was me. That was totally me. Oh,
Even when
was
you
he the
went
one
to-
doing the test?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
the
when you went to
nerd.
university, you're like, I got school. I'm like, okay,
You
Joe.
got school. Yep.
I can't talk today. I got 17 hours of homework to do.
Yep. Oh, so glad that's done.
But I think more than the show, I also grew up with the show, but there was obviously Pokemon was heavily in favor of Saturday morning cartoons because of what happened to Digimon. And Digimon came out and it pretty much ruled television like 4 out of the 7 days of the week because of where they were located on TV. And it wasn't until Pokemon, where Digimon was then bought by Disney to put on their block, that they took away the 4 days, and it was kind of only once a week at that point because they wanted to bombard everybody with Digimon because Pokemon was so hit.
Oh.
So they every day after school they would have Digimon running to kind of combat Pokemon. But it did start with Tamagotchis.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's how Digimon started, which was, little digital monsters inside of a little game that you can take care of. And it kind of evolved from that because the first, other than Tamagotchi, there was a Digimon Tamagotchi, but it didn't look like any of the characters we knew because it was based off like artist drawings in the manga. So it wasn't until they really fleshed out the first manga and really wanted to bring it to an audience that we had the characters that, we all fell in love with. But Digimon the movie is a weird one because Pokemon had just had the first movie and it had massive success. And they were like, we need to put out a Digimon product because the show's running. We need to combat Pokemon. And they were like, how do we do this? But in Japan, they had already made 3 individual Digimon movies, which are Digimon shorts. And usually they run around 45 minutes to an hour. Some maybe even shorter, half an hour. And they said, well, let's put those 3 movies together and redub it and give it an American soundtrack and put it in the theaters.
So crazy.
So hence, if you notice between each, I'm sure you both all can tell when the movies end and when the next movie begins, which is why they had Kari doing voiceover in between to help mesh the stories together.
It's funny because Kari was like the only character that was in all 3 of them consistently. So I guess that's why they chose her as the narrator.
And the first Digimon movie we see, they put that out, the one where they're all really young, and it had that really moody animation style. It was grounded. It was basically like a Godzilla flick with how big the monsters were. That was the first movie they put out in Japan as a precursor to the show. So it was basically like a prelude to get you into
backstory.
Digimon.
Yeah, which I had no idea. That's so cool.
And then obviously the following one was Diaboromon. Don't interfere. That whole thing. And
Terrifying.
then at the third one was Kokomon and Go Back.
Another terrifying.
The whole deal. So they were like, let's put these 3 movies together, toss on these American soundtracks, and release it in the theaters. Now, did any of you see this movie in theaters when it came out in 99, 2000?
Dana.
Disappointingly, no, because we were meant to go. Adrian and I were so excited. And then I can remember the day clear. Like in this kitchen, I remember because our very good friends, the Elliots, showed up that day, that evening. Right, AJ?
Yeah,
Am I on the right track?
You're
Adrian?
right. You're right.
And then they came and we ended up having Chinese food. And I remember Adrian and I were not pleased.
We were devastated. Yes, exactly. You want us to hang out with our family friends instead of going to the movie of the century?
I would be very sad too. I mean, Chinese food is a okay consolation, but I never saw it in theaters either. I think I must have seen it when it aired. Did it air on TV? It must have.
I
It
think
probably
so.
did.
Yeah, because that's really when I remember watching it. But funny enough, never watching it entirely or watching it in chunks. Because when we talked about doing this one, I thought that's the one with like them really young, they fight, and then there's Diaboromon, and then that's it. And then you're like,
No.
And they save the internet.
Yeah. And then you said there's one more. And then that kind of jogged my memory of like, oh yeah, that was another viewing of mine. So I really watched this in pieces each time, but never as a whole until just recently.
I think that does play into the fact that people don't know about the whole, like, it's a whole movie, but people think it ends when Omnimon defeats Diaboromon because it's a clear ending. You've been sitting around, I think, for, it's not even an hour, but it had that
been
fulfilling
50 minutes. Yeah.
Fulfilling ending to a movie, and people forget that it kind of restarts after that and goes. So it's basically two separate movies you view, and every time I talk to somebody, it's like, oh yeah, it ends right there. No, there's still a second half that people forget about.
And it was a little jarring to me to watch that ending and then get introduced to, I don't know, 7 more main characters.
There's only 4.
I guess.
Because Willis, you
Plus
also
they're
heard at the
Digimon.
beginning. Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah. and Willis is another one of those kind of dropped in at the beginning, and then you see him as an older kid come back as the main Digidestined, if you will.
Another cute blonde boy that I liked.
There you go.
Always flirting with the girls.
Listen.
Hands off, Kari's mine.
I was just also going to say, because Dana and I didn't get to see the movie in theaters, the one time I remember I don't know if I remember the first time we watched it, but us and our best friend Abby would rent this movie every single time we were on vacation, every single summer together, and we would rent it along with the Card Captors movie from the local video store. And those were the 2 movies we watched every single summer for almost all of our lives. So I think we were trying to make up for not seeing it in theaters because we love those movies so much.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't remember if I actually saw it in theaters, but there's a part of my memory that blurs it with the Pokemon movie. So I don't remember if it was Pokemon or Digimon I saw, but it was a birthday party at Cineplex.
Classic.
So you had to go. You had those birthday rooms. But the only reason I think it's Digimon is because I remember the cartoon Angela Anaconda
At the beginning,
and at the beginning of the movie, which I didn't know what it was. So I think it just ingrained in me how weird and unnecessary that introductory, because they had the heads of the Digimon characters, right? At certain points.
They do. They're waiting. They're waiting in line for the Digimon movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been Digimon.
Yeah, she had like Ty's headband on.
I don't know.
That was so weird.
I can't
Let's hold on for this Angela Anaconda slander, because Dana and I loved Angela Anaconda, and we were very happy to see this crossover.
So sorry. That show freaked me out. I always felt so uneasy watching it.
You're not alone.
The only viewing I got was that precursor to Digimon.
Yeah,
the rest, I never saw the
It's
show
a
at
lot
all.
of context for sure.
Yep.
I don't know why they thought that this would be a banger.
Yeah, do you think that they were like, let's get the hottest 2000 show on the block to intro for this?
They're like, what are you thinking? Pokemon?
No, they were competitors,
Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
I know. They're like, no, Angela Anaconda. They said,
Done.
run with it.
How American can we get?
And Brian, I think you did go see the Pokemon movie, though, in theaters, because you had that Mew card. And wasn't that a promotional?
That came with the VHS.
It did. Never mind. I don't know them.
Yes.
I think our brother went to go see it, and they were actually giving out, I think, the unknown cards. Is that not right for the Pokemon movie, Dana?
Or it could have been for the third one.
movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
they gave
that's
out an
when,
Entei,
yeah.
And they give it an Entei.
because I
That's
saw
right.
that one in theaters.
Oh.
'cause I
Me
got
too.
the card.
Yeah.
Did we see that together?
I think we did.
Yeah. Good times.
That's
Yep.
cute.
Times.
Okay, guys, so this movie's weird. Please help me with it. Okay, well, actually, I should say this. What is your favorite section of the movie? Because I definitely have a 100%. I know what my favorite is. It's probably everybody's second favorite, but I just love it so much.
I will say Dana and I did not know that this was 3 separate. Like, I had no idea. Like, to me, like, a movie couldn't have flowed better. Like, like when we watched it, we had no idea until like high school that we're like, when we researched it, because then we found out there's like another part they made later, and we're like, what? But I think
Revenge of Diaboromon.
Yeah, I think my favorite. It's tough. I think I will take the first half of the first part, not the first half, because not when they're little. Because I just like the parts with Sora, so I like her entire being together. But then Diaboromon scared me so much, especially when he multiplies at the end of the first part. Like, that scares me so much. And then I also really like the last half, like when they're kids. But also he scared me too, so those are my favorites.
I think I'm similar to Adria. I love like the whole part, well, the part that 1 week is in, the song, with the whole part where Izzy is rushing around to get the internet hooked back up.
Yep.
And all of that.
Satellite uplink.
Yeah.
You've got mail.
So I love that whole part, and like so emotional with like the end of the first part, like love all that. And then I think my second favorite part is like, because I also really like Davis in the second part, and I think he's probably my other favorite character. So I like the whole like them getting to know Willis, and like they have that couple fights with Cocomon as he's following them around. So I think those are probably my two favorite bits.
Mine's the whole first half. From the very Japan essence of the first little section when they're really small to the end of Omnimon beating Diaboromon. Now, I really like the second half, but I feel every time I can stop watching the second Diaboromon is finished.
Right. I definitely agree with that. My favorite is the first third of the movie where they're little kids. I love the action, and Greymon just looks so cool and scary. And he's fighting a giant parrot with arms. I thought that was cool. And the animation, I think, is just so, it flows so well. I love their little feet.
Oh, he's so cute.
On their like triangular legs. They're so funny. And then I would say the middle part with Izzy and Diaboromon. I think that part is just so energetic, so fun. My favorite part of the third section, though, is where I think we can really tell that this was kind of smooshed together dub to fit like the time frame that we're going for like an hour and a half. And it was when Davis and Willis are in the forest.
Oh,
and Willis is saying, I have to do this alone, and Davis is following him, and Davis starts crying. She says, what are you crying for? This is something for me. And he picks up his goggles, and then he says, okay.
So he says, get over it.
He says, get over it. Okay. It's like the best scene.
We're Digidestined, and we're going to help you.
Oh, that is just like, that's like my favorite thing. It seems very true and consistent to the character, but I think that just because of, I know they had to cut it.
Oh, so you think there was more to that scene?
100%.
100%.
Each movie's 45 minutes. There's definitely more to that scene.
So I think actually the first one with them as babies is actually 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the second one's like 30, and then the last one is 45 or 50 minutes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's probably a 5-minute scene of them in the forest talking about something emotional, and then him finally getting over it. But this is way better.
But I think it works because Davis's character is like that.
Exactly. He actually feels very much like a reactionary person. He'll cry immediately and then flip a switch, and then he's all good.
I will say one of my favorite parts is immediately after that when they're all babies and he says, I'm a baby. You calling a baby, you baby?
What saves the second half for me is Davis and Vmon, because Vmon is
Sweet.
easily one of my favorite Digimon of all time.
He is cool.
His whole evolution line and the armor Digimon. But when they golden armor energize,
Golden
Oh, it's so cool.
his Vmon's evolution is one of the coolest Digimon of all time.
Dana, I wanted to go back. You said Mimi was like your favorite. And what was the second Digivolution for her Digimon?
Adria, do you
Is
know
it
what
not the cactus
It's
with
the
the box?
cactus.
It's the
boxing
cactus
gloves?
with the boxing gloves.
I
Technically,
understand the
it's
dislike.
the third because
That is
the
the
first
third.
one is when they're like little squishy babies. But yes, I believe it's the
Right.
cactus with the boxing gloves.
Togemon.
Togemon.
Did not remember the
Then Woodmon and Vegemon. So
Don't remember those ones.
You never saw the rest of those.
Nope. I remember the cactus now.
Yeah.
Yep. There were a few that I found so weird. What was Hawkmon?
Oh, come on.
Hawkmon.
That voice always weirded me out.
The other one was Digimon.
Cody.
I've been digging
all over
ya.
for you.
He's just always like this.
Yeah.
Just sits there.
But
Very stiff.
the Gen 2 cast is awesome. There's only
Oh,
3
for sure.
characters. I mean, you get Ken in the actual show. You get Ken in Wormmon. You get him later. But the fact that they shrunk it down a bit just to have fewer characters, because some of the characters from season 1 do appear older in the second season, but it's nice to just get a couple extra in there.
Yeah, I think they probably learned from the first season. They're like, oh wait, we have too many main characters and we don't have enough time to dedicate enough screen time to everybody.
Yeah, and then they clearly like just cut Mimi and Joe out of there too.
What
For
does
the
she say?
whole-
She says, I'm on vacation when Joe's reading the letter from her. What does she say? I'm in Hawaii and I'm having a blast or something.
And she's like, and I wish you were here. I think what helps the Digimon movie is how funny it is.
Oh, yeah.
Like that first section, I mean, Davis is hilarious, but that first section when they're like teenagers, 13, 14, and Izzy's trying to run over to Ty's house and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with the internet. And Ty's mom,
So good.
So amazing.
I've never used flour to bake a cake before.
We quoted this movie so much, Dana and our best friend Abby and I. We all the time. Hi, Kari, Ty.
That's
Just one each.
Just one each.
just one each.
Dana and I say that to this day. Do you know what part that is, Nick?
No,
It's
what was
when
that?
Kari. It's in the very beginning. It's a very small part, and Kari.
Oh, the pop.
Yeah, she's getting
The
the
soda
pop. It's
machine.
just one each. And Dana and I, every time we give something to each other, we say just one each.
Oh, it's so like innocent and
Yeah.
cute. And the did you guys want your bacon juice? Or what was
Whatever the
like
milkshake or
brown
whatever.
Milkshake, bacon milkshake. Give me a break.
What does he say?
And
My
Izzy's like, sure. Or
Yeah.
he takes one and he's like, oh, that was delicious. And then he takes like 3 more after that. And they're in
So
the middle of a
funny. And his
battle. And
face.
Izzy's like, he's like, he's like, what the heck is wrong with you? He's like, I think it's your mom's recipes.
recipe.
He's like, I told you not to drink that. And he's
So
like,
good.
and he runs out.
It's one of
and
the
then
funniest
Ty makes
parts.
the screen
Yep.
go blue screen of death.
And he's
He's like,
computer.
what's wrong with you? He's like, I didn't tell you to go to the bathroom at such an important time.
That's actually such a funny part.
And when Ty's calling around to try to get the other Digidestin involved,
Oh, the phone call, the whole
Yeah.
phone
Phone call.
system is hilarious.
and he can't get through, and then the lady on the other end is like, it's busy, and then he calls back and she's like, it's still busy, and he calls again, it's still busy, did you hear me? And he's like, sorry. And then they play phone tag with Matt and TK.
This is the one Brian and I say
Oh,
the most.
grandma.
With the grandma.
Yeah.
You're selling ties.
You're selling ties.
He said, no, my name is Ty. Oh, that. He said, can I talk to Matt and TK? Those are my nephews or my
The
grandkids.
grandson's names.
And it's like, I like to talk to them too. And then she hangs up. Oh, it's gold.
I also like the barber later on.
Oh, that's the part I was
what-
thinking.
Where'd he go?
Where'd he go?
Yes.
Where'd his brother go? Hey, man, you almost cut my ear off. Oh, they're I can't. They're my best friends. He's like, that's because it's the only computer in town. But then Sora's whole thing is Ty got her a hairpin, and then he says, "Well, she's like, you don't like my hairstyle."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, how do I know what your hair looks like? You're always wearing a hat. You know how you don't like my hat, huh?" It's a whole thing. It's a very teenager.
Oh yeah.
Argument. Like he better have written me, but the whole plot of the movie is the internet's down, so Ty's message can't actually get through. So she thinks that he doesn't care about her.
But he's writing his apology letter, and he ends it with, "What's a few raindrops between friends?"
Love Ty.
Love Ty.
No, I wasn't even going to send that letter.
I don't know. And then Kari sends it.
Send.
She's like, why would you write it if you were going to send it?
Oh,
yeah.
Very good point.
And when he calls Kari to get home, she's like, "Oh, I can't leave now. I already agreed to be sawed in half." And the girl, did you notice the girl in the background? Her
The
face
annoying
is like,
birthday girl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like mid-blow and then staring down.
Yeah, Kari should get out of that party.
And that's what I love about that animation style. It is just so expressive with very few details. Like that unimpressed birthday girl, it's literally just like 2 lines for the tops of her eyelids and like the eyeballs, and that's it. And you know automatically that she is not having this phone call.
and each movie's a different animation style because of when they drew it in time.
Yes.
Another thing I didn't notice it at all when we were kids.
I didn't notice until this time that there's literally no shadows in the second part of the movie.
It's so cool.
It's so simple, line drawn, and just flat colors. But the backgrounds kind of have some detail to them.
They do. And they're all like painted pretty much, especially in the real world. Mm-hmm. But I love the digital world where all the outlines are like orange.
Yeah.
It's just such a cool little detail that makes it look so different and so alive in there.
Yeah, I will say Dana and I, like, we both wanted to go to that summer camp and get whisked away, like in the first episode. Like, one thing, if Dana and I wanted to go to a camp so bad when we were kids, which is how the whole show starts, but then to be whisked away where there's no parents, that was the dream. Dana and I both wanted that so badly.
What I think is cool is that this movie, if this would have happened today, the consequences would be just as magnified with how connected we are with the internet to what happened in this movie with basically everybody having dial-up internet and how slow the internet gets when they're sending all the mail. But then I would think it would be so easy for Diaboromon to hack in to the government today more than back then.
Yep. I think that's a really good point to make, because at that time, that was the infancy of the internet, but that was when people wanted to be on it. They didn't have to, but it was a craze. It was something you thought, oh, I'm missing out if I don't join into this. If I'm not on dial-up, if I'm not sending emails to people, just being like, hey, how's it going? Then you're missing out. So it's such a cool concept that actually still rings true today, that everybody was so dependent on communicating through the internet because like everything was dial-up, and no matter what, we would be in the same situation.
Absolutely.
We'd be scrambling around, or whoever the Digidestins of now, they would also be scrambling around, probably trying to communicate with everybody. They'd have to go on foot to get to everybody's house and tell them to get together.
Yeah, absolutely. Even worse, like, I feel like then, like, I was thinking about the scene where the guy goes to buy the chocolate, and it's like almost all like news shops work on like Shopify, which is all online, and like everything would be affected versus like when you'd have to calculate things. And what does she say? She's like, wow, $1 million, that's some expensive chocolate.
Yeah. And she's like, cash or plastic?
Yeah, that's
paper or plastic?
And Shopify crashes now regardless. So any small little hiccup. And I love when Izzy first figures out what's happening, because Willa sends him an email and he's like, oh, I messed something up and it's all my fault. And when you first get that email from Diaboromon, hello. Hello. And then he's like, oh, I'm hungry. And then he's eating all the computer data. I love how it looked like Pac-Man.
Yeah.
That was smart. Yeah. the idea, like we already go into the digital world, but the fact that the Digimon go into the internet and their view of what the internet looks like looks like these bunch of tubes and these empty, vast spaces of nothing.
Yep.
And the fact that the plot, like the reason why our Digimon can't succeed is because of how slow the internet is, which is so wild.
And that's how Diaboromon's defeated, is he just redirects all of the emails that he was getting to slow down their Digimon back to Diaboromon. And it slows him right down. It's so cool. Oh, and he gets sorted in the face.
Oh, terrifying.
Impumon. And when he first becomes into the spider shooter.
That's my least favorite part in the whole movie, because he like looks right at the camera. It's the scariest. I already hate spiders, and then they've got all the like multiples, and the way his head jerks around. Terrifying.
No. Doesn't he say like time's up or something like that?
No thanks.
Just one quick thought at the end when he does get the sword in the face, he kind of mutters Willis as he dies.
Does he?
And just to lead into how Willis is connected, because he is that virus that infected whatever Diaboromon was before infects Kokomon.
Oh,
it's too much to put on young little Willis.
Yeah.
Right? That kid is traumatized.
But if you think about it, these movies are connected. So like putting them together in one movie does make sense in a way, but obviously they had to cut some stuff out because each one was a sequel of itself. So obviously they're going to follow the same plots. So for us American viewers, seeing it all in one movie, I think is fine for our first attempt at seeing a Digimon movie.
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually curious to watch a subbed version of this. I think this weekend I'm going to watch the sub of all three of those just to see the difference.
Fun fact, there's a company called Discotech Media, and they're in charge of remastering old anime TV shows, old anime movies, bringing anime to Blu-ray for the American audience. Yeah, very slowly. But last July, they put out a teaser trailer that they're remastering all 4 Digimon movies with brand new dubs from all the voice actors. But they're also giving us an updated remaster of the original American dub that we saw, also with the Japanese remasters. So we're getting all 4 movies in Japanese and American dub at some point this year.
Yeah, that was last July.
That's super cool.
Yeah. I think the actor strike might have halted some of that
with
the redubbing. But yeah, we are getting remasters, and I've been waiting a year for it. Because my 480p VHS isn't cutting it anymore.
I can't believe you haven't brought up, Brian, the creation of one of your favorite Digimon moments, when the moment at the end of the movie where Matt and Ty go into the computer.
Oh, we're getting to that.
Okay.
We're getting to that. You cannot talk about, because I was going to get into some of your favorite Digimon sections, but at the end when Nick mentioned the sword in the face, the Digimon, War Greymon and Metal Garurumon are 2 of the coolest. This goes back to, I think, the nostalgia of Generation 1 of everything, but 2 of the coolest Digimon of all time. And when Matt and Ty somehow managed to digitize into the computer, because their Digimon are pretty much toast, everybody is sending... Izzy's like, oh, everybody send your love. They can feel... The Digimon can feel the presence of everyone around the world. And when they form into Omnimon, it's one of the hypest moments. Now, here's the problem with Omnimon. Obviously, the budget is a problem in all of these movies, but whenever Omnimon shows up, you get like 2-3 seconds of him being badass, and then most of the time he stands there looking cool with his cape flapping, and then just things happen around him.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's still cool because he stands there, does the Transcendent Sword and the Supreme Cannon, which is one of my I love when Digimon say their attacks. It's one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
And he gets rid of all the Diaboromon, and then the timer's counting down, and obviously he jolts ahead because you've got mail, and he sends all the mail, slows him down to a halt. I love when they put the clock on Diaboromon, like he's like, or the loading icon.
Yes.
And he stabs him right through the chest, and you can see the timer on the inside of him. But in the 4th movie, Revenge of Diaboromon, the budget was clearly way higher, and everything gets brought into the real world. I don't know if you saw this movie, Nick.
I remember there was a scene in like what I'm assuming is Tokyo Bay again.
Yes.
But that's the only scene I remember, and they actually fight, and it's cool.
It's epic, and Omnimon's like gliding along the water, and Diaboromon is this massive creature compared to what he looked like in this movie. He digivolved again, and he's zooming around, dodging blasts, and he like stabs him right in the middle, but it didn't work. And he hits him with the Supreme Cannon like 3 times in the mouth, and then he like backs off, and then obviously Davis and Ken have to show up and fuse their Digimon, and then obviously all 4 of them fuse to get Imperial Dramon Megaform, and then it's all white, and then he stabs him. That's the only thing at the ending where he just kind of like stabs him like really weird in the top of the head. But other than that, Omnimon, they delivered. He's one of the coolest things ever.
Oh yeah. Do you have any Digimon figures now?
Here's the thing.
Just these 2.
I have all the tiny ones from back in the day. But Andrea has those 2. But there is a Omnimon figure. I can't remember what company released it, but it's like a 1/6 scale. So it's like
really cool.
A 12-inch figure. And it comes with it comes with Matt and Ty.
Cool.
But they like magnetize to the shoulders.
That's sick.
And like it's all posable, and the cape can pose, and you can switch out the hands so you can get the sword and the cannon like when it opens up. But it's like $290.
I think it's more than that. I think it's like $300.
Yeah, $290 US. And every time I see it, I'm like, this is the coolest
like move
thing
the cart.
But then you get ones that are like the models. So they're a little cheaper, but they're only like maybe 6 inches tall. Those are still pretty cool too. But that Omnimon figure, man, so
staying
cool.
in the noggin.
Dayna, you had
forever.
Digivice that a boy gifted
I
to
still have
you.
it somewhere. Yes, my high school boyfriend gave it to me. And it's not the old original one. It's from I believe it's the
the cards,
fourth
is
generation.
It the card swipey one?
It's the one when they swipe the cards, and it's a red one, and it kind of works like a Tamagotchi.
I had
It's
that
pretty
one too.
cute. You had that one too?
You had to like walk around with it and shake so that your Digimon can evolve. Yeah, me and my cousin, we had those 2 Digivices. He had the blue one, and we would just sit in our rooms and spin them, like throw them up and spin them because it counted as a shake. So you would gain levels, and we would just go like, instead of walking around, we were just like, oh, we gotta do this. I love that. Digimon Tamers is one of the coolest. I had one of them on VHS. I don't remember watching the whole show on TV, but I had one VHS I just looped and looped. Digimon Tamers was so cool.
It's got an incredible intro.
That you're thinking of the 4th one.
You're thinking of the 4th one.
I am.
Where the Digimon fuse, or the people fuse with.
Yes.
We
to
love
make
the theme song of the 4th
Digimon
one.
Frontiers. Yeah.
Yes. How many seasons or series were there?
There's like 4 more after that, but I'm going to tell you, I don't remember.
We watched a recap, and I was like, I have no idea about any of these. The first 4 are the only ones that matter, I think.
Because it also tied into some of the video games. Now, did you guys play any of the video games growing up?
No.
We had the cards.
I didn't even know there were video games.
Yeah, there was a couple. There was like a Smash Bros. Style one. Ooh. And at the top of my head, I can't remember what it was, but it was awesome. It was on the PlayStation. I played it at Justin's house all the time, Nick. And then there was one called Digimon World. There was 4 versions of that I remember. And I played the 4th one with Jesse all the time on GameCube. We would rent it and just plow through it.
Were they fun?
Oh, yeah, they were great. You could you're the actual Digimon, and you're going through the digital world, and you level up and gain companions and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Super fun. But I think the problem with Digimon games was Pokemon. And Pokemon was so accessible. Well, because they were trying, Pokemon sold like 1 million copies of green and red, and Digimon only sold like 15,000 or like 150,000. And because of how complicated Digimon was when it first came out, compared to how easy Pokemon was, you turn the game on, you select your starter, and you just go on an adventure. Where the Digimon was more of a RPG style. You had your characters, you had to select. I mean, Pokemon is an RPG in a way, but it's way more kid-friendly.
It's so accessible.
It's so accessible. And I think Digimon had to keep reinventing themselves every game. And when they came out with Digimon World, I think that was a step in the right direction. But still, Pokemon was just too big. And then it finally got to Digimon Cyber Sleuth, which was a couple years ago on the PlayStation and Switch. Those games people really liked. It was also, they kept with the RPG style. You were a character running through the digital world. But you couldn't, I think that's where it faltered. And as well, they tried to bring out the Digimon cards in the late 90s. and Pokemon, it was just you couldn't
No
keep up.
competition.
They were too
Yeah.
late. It was too complicated because there was a commercial where these kids were playing the Digimon card game and they were amped and they were excited, but I don't think it translated to how to actually play
Yeah.
the game when kids bought the cards.
We had the cards. We had no idea how to play the game, but we also didn't know how to play the Pokemon game either, to be fair. So
I still don't.
Pokemon?
no,
Yeah.
we didn't
Well, you
know.
play it how you want to play it.
That's true.
Sure.
That's how you play it.
Age and I don't respond well to those open-ended rules.
Yeah.
We need to be told
Strict.
exactly
Yeah.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3 what to do.
I feel like Pokemon, the variation between the game and the shows is very big. Like there's a lot of variance with it. The show is there's Pokemon battles, but there's a story involved, and then they changed that to a more very simple, broken down battle mechanic. And I think if Digimon did something similar, not turn based, I don't think it would be as strong if it was turn based, but that just focusing on quick movements and free roaming around a world like the digital world, I guess that would make a cool game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd probably play that now if you can pick a monster
Mm-hmm.
and take that through the entire game, or even build a team with other ones. I don't
Cyber
know.
Sleuth kind of has that, but you're also the human. It's the problem with Digimon games is it's very story driven. There's a lot of dialogue. And nobody's reading, like you have to read it all. And then you get to the digital world, you run around and you get into a battle, and the screen kind of does what Pokemon does, where you go into a different screen to battle, and then
Yep.
you have like 3 Digimon and you're jumping back and forth, kind of like Mario RPG.
Right.
But yeah, if you could be like Digimon World 4, you were a Digimon. And you
Okay.
go around and you team with other Digimon. Like you could pick between the first 4. Like you could pick Agumon, Vmon, Gyomon, and then there was another one I can't really remember. But you had like a weapon and you go around the digital world and you'd like upgrade your Digimon and evolve as you go through the story. So I think they need to kind of find a way to bring that back, or make a Digimon game where you're the main hero, the Digidestin, and when you go into battle, you then control the Digimon.
Right.
Because they do fight by themselves, right? They're not like Pokemon where you have to tell them what to do,
Yes.
So I think
Yeah.
they need to find a good balance, but it's pretty tough when they've tried so many different options and it's just not as big. But I think that goes into like them trying to keep bringing it back over and over again with the anime.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing to see that there's been so many series, and then there what's that Digimon Tri,
Yeah.
and that brings back the original Digidestin, but they're older.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool because they need to have some common ground again for the old fans, but try to get new kids into it.
Did you guys watch any of the try? Oh, did you watch any of
Not
the try?
yet.
I only watched the movie, but Brian watched, I think. It's not the show.
Well, no, we watched
What?
because the try I have is a full. It's like 5 different movies put together. It's like a series. So I had the completed set. So we did watch the complete. It did feel like a movie because it wasn't episode based, but
we?
it was a full thing. But
Just like the movie,
Yeah,
Adria
just like
had
the
no
movie.
idea.
It's all one. It all flowed so good. But it was
Yeah.
really cool because doesn't it have the same original cast in Try?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
That's
is like
cool.
all the Digimon Tri movies put together, the complete 6-film collection.
Okay.
But at the end, I think it still suffers from, because Omnimon obviously has to show up at the end. He's how they beat everything. But it's the criticisms of it was that it didn't end off on a bang. Like the final battle was Omnimon just standing there and he does an attack without really moving, and then the boss is over. Like throughout the beginning, like it was really interesting. The fights, where everything happened in the real world.
Yeah.
And it felt like there was a lot of stakes and danger, but then it kind of petered off towards the end and the fight didn't really deliver.
Oh.
But then, Nick, I don't know if you obviously don't follow Digimon as much as we do, but then there was another movie that came out to really cap off our main hero's journey, and it was called Digimon Last Evolution. So it had all the main characters,
Oh, that
but it
looks
was
cool.
about them losing their Digimon because they're growing up, and
It's incredibly sad.
It's sad. It's so sad, dude.
That's awful. I would hate that so much.
It's also the last one with the original cast, because then they've moved on. But so it's like doubly sad.
Yeah.
I hate that.
So all the other heroes are losing their Digimon, but Ty and Matt obviously are the last two to have theirs.
Let's say goodbye.
They have a countdown. So every time they Digivolve,
Oh my god.
they lose a counter.
No.
Right? And they slowly start to fade, and then they have one last evolution to save the digital world. And then they get back to the real world, and Ty's moment with Agumon, they're just sitting out looking at the water. And then the sad part about it is how we talked about Big Hero 6 the other day. When Baymax shoots Hero off, all you see is Hero's vision.
Yeah.
And Agumon says one last thing to Ty, and it cuts to Ty's hand, and he's holding the Digivice, and it like fades away. And then when it cuts back, Agumon is gone, and all you see is Ty crying on the Digivice. Yeah, like it's so sad.
I hate it.
It was very good, but everybody has to remember that Digimon never actually die.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, is there a silver lining to this? Do we see it like a Digi-Egg
I don't
show
remember.
up to another kid's doorstep?
Here's the problem. Because Digimon are meant to be children's companions.
Yeah.
And because they're adults now in their late 20s, they don't have time to... That's the whole point of the story, is that they're getting too old to have a Digimon.
Yeah. But
so they might go to somebody else later.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
You never see a Digi-Egg come back.
So it's just like the end.
Last November, they did another Digimon adventure, but it was 02. So it was the same style, but it was the secondary cast. So you have Davis and all them as adults as well. And that Blu-ray comes out at the end of May or June, I think, for the American audience. So I could finally get to watch it because it looks awesome by the trailer. And it's like a continuation of this with like a new villain. So hopefully we don't have the same emotional impact at the end of this one, because it was rough. Sorry if I spoiled it for you, Dana.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
I think worth a watch.
In the show, that happens in the show, right? Where we do see a Digi-Egg.
It happens to Patamon.
Patamon.
When he first becomes Angemon, I think.
Right. It's too much for his little body.
Angemon and Andromon are two of the most badass.
They're so cool.
They're so cool. Yeah.
And what's crazy about them is they kind of like, I don't know if they skip over a level, but they're so powerful that they only need to do that form anytime.
Right.
Unless they turn into like Seraphimon and the weird and never-ending story version of Angelomon.
Oh, yeah.
When they make the golden Digi-Egg.
They all have
They never really do those forms.
Evolutions. But yes, I was saying to Brian yesterday, I'm pretty sure that I remember reading something about how Gatomon is not on the same level as like, I think Gatomon is on the same level as like Greymon, not
is
like,
Gatomon the cat, the green? The cat. Oh,
the cat.
Yeah.
So she's not on this level, which I don't remember what the stages are.
Champion level is the Greymon level.
Yeah,
so I think that's what she's already
I remember reading that, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, their evolutions like are crazy. Like I know I read someone said sometime about like they're so cute, and then their next evolution, all Digimon, like is like they get a gun. Like that's when they.
He's got pants.
Yeah, he's got pants now.
So here's something I want to ask all of you about Terriermon. Terriermon, to me, they were trying to, again, goes with their competitor. Terriermon is just Pikachu with bigger ears. If you look at Terriermon's body shape, it has the same chunk on the bottom, the same feet and hands, the same cheeks and nose, but his ears are just wings.
I love him.
And I think that's why that Digimon works so well for the movie season 3, because it came back in season 3 with the new Tamers. It stuck around because it's an iconic looking figure, because obviously the design
just
works.
Pikachu. Yeah.
We were primed to already like it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think he's cuter than Pikachu.
Whoa.
Hot take?
His little
Now,
stuffy
chunky
voice.
Pikachu or thin
I think so
Pikachu?
too.
Oh, good point.
Because Chunky Pikachu is a different story to Thin Pikachu.
Yeah, I think he's cuter than Thin Pikachu.
Yeah.
Chunky Pikachu, nothing beats that for me.
Yeah. What does he say, Willis? Adria, you pointed out yesterday we were watching it.
When
What
they're
was one of his
walking?
lines? Yeah.
He hops on Willis's head when they're walking in like the desert or whatever, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I've got little legs, and I forget what he says exactly,
And
but
he's like, I got big ears.
I got
or
big
something.
ears,
It's
so
a
you
pod.
can carry me, and you can still stay in the shade." And then he puffs out his ears.
Oh, so cute.
Bunny Blast.
He's so cute.
So cute.
Did Kokomon and Terriermon have different names? Like, what was their baby forms? Were they still?
I don't think we heard those names in the movie.
No, because they were referenced as Kokomon and Terriermon the whole time, even though they definitely digivolved.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Kokomon is absolutely one of the most scary things I've ever seen in my life, and he still scares me. I don't like him.
It's that like big mouth and the dead eyes over here.
Yeah.
Even the next evolution, the good and the bad version, like right at the very end, I thought that was actually really scary.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a clown bunny.
Yeah. That
Not
like
fan.
the one right after him, absolutely terrifying too. Like it's got like the slit eyes and no, I prefer the last evolution over Kokomon, but I love a spoiler at the very end of that second part where he turns good again and he's got like
the yellow bunny.
He's like light. That's my preference.
But he has two forms because he goes from Kokomon to the thin bunny.
Yeah.
And then he drips down underneath the water
Absolutely
in the most terrifying way possible.
Yeah.
And then he comes up as the clown.
Yeah.
No good.
But I think
No good.
hot take, I think they should have kept the bunny form, the cute yellow bunny at the end. Because I know the whole movie you're stuck with Kokomon. So I understand why they brought him back when they refound the egg in the water.
Yeah.
To connect people like, oh, that was, but the final evolution of him turning good, that was them saving him. So I feel like that should have been, but I think they're like, oh, that would have been, Adria was like, oh, they must have thought it was funny of him singing.
Yeah, they thought
the song at the end. It's not funny.
No, it's not. Yeah, they just needed one more design, a little bit less scary.
Yeah.
Because really, that was like his virus corrupted version. If he changed from the next evolution and then got good to the yellow bunny, then he should have been like the same.
Cuter.
Yeah,
Cuter.
I think that is a big difference between Digimon and Pokemon is like, I think Digimon, maybe not for an older audience, but they go a little harder in like, even in the show, like the whole first plot is when they arrive in the Digi world, there's like, the bad Digimon are being affected by these gears that are getting implanted in them and they turn really evil. And even like, I remember the animation.
They just shoot into their backs.
Yeah, they shoot into their backs and like they remove them. And it was like, even as a kid, I was like, oh, that's icky. But I feel like that and like the guns that they have, like Pokemon definitely doesn't have guns, I don't think, unless Team Rocket
just
has
in that
them.
one episode that they didn't show us here.
Yeah. So
They were appealing to the comic readers.
Yeah, so I feel like it's like a little bit more intense in that way, as well as like the more complicated stories and stuff like that. So I think that's what kind of sets it apart from Pokemon, which is kind of like the same episode over and over again. And not always, like not in a bad way, because I mean, who hasn't cried over the Bye Bye Butterfree? But
He says goodbye to too many of us.
Oh, yeah.
Too many. He just can't keep them together. Now I'm going to ask a hot take, a controversial take of all your opinions. Do you think Digimon is better than Pokemon?
Yes.
I also say yes. I love Pokemon, but yes.
Adria and I loved Digimon.
We've been fighting
liked
the good
Pokemon.
fight.
We loved
Yeah.
Digimon.
I had no idea about this about of you.
There was a whole summer, the summer after grade 8, where Adria and I found, like, we didn't really know the internet as well, but we found that we could watch Digimon on like some random website that probably gave our computer a virus.
Yeah.
And Adria and I would go to swimming lessons, and then we would come home and we would watch Digimon.
And that's all we did for
that's
like
all we did.
all of the summer.
Just weeks on end.
We had like our comforters around and we sat at the computer.
I'm going to tell you, Nick, I'm more accessible to Pokemon because of our friendship, and we grew up playing all the games and the movies and stuff like that. But I think Digimon is better.
That's so interesting.
I think Digimon's way cooler. As cool as some of the Pokemon are, I think Digimon has an edge to it that I look in cartoons.
Yes.
And the Digivolutions, and obviously, you know, everybody, there's a bad guy in all the seasons. And the moment they Digivolve to get ready for battle, it's just so much more exciting to me.
Yes. Oh yeah. I feel like the show and the movie are cooler. Definitely cooler than any Pokemon movie that's been put out. I think Pokemon for me is more accessible just because of the fact that I played those games up till Generation 6 in and out or so. So for me, I'm more comfortable with Pokemon, but I gotta agree. Like watching that movie the other day, I thought this is cool. It's got that true anime flair where Pokemon doesn't have that. They have it's its very own style. I don't think a lot of other animes look like Pokemon, but Digimon has that very comfortable fit in with the 90s, 2000s anime. And that's what I really like about it. Because I'm getting into more anime shows, and I love that art style. I love this snappiness of like the action. And the characters do look cooler, I gotta say.
I think they delve into, like, you get to know the characters on such a deeper level in Digimon than you do.
Yes. It's that true anime, right? You get to know the characters. Like last year I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, and that's a crazy show. Don't recommend it to anybody.
That's my fiance's one of his favorite shows.
It's amazing. It's just so sad and so heavy, but you get to know the characters. And that's what I feel like Digimon does better than Pokemon. So if you want that connection to a character, way better than Pokemon.
I think the big difference as well is like with Pokemon, you only have one character to care about, which is, I think, to its advantage in the way of like kids only have to worry about one character, even though like you get to know Brock and Misty and all the other partners too in Pokemon. I think that's why kids, and the storyline's a little easier. Like I feel like that's why it's so more easily accessible to young kids as well, which is why I think it has a bit more of a fan base because it's not as like complex.
Right.
And the gotta catch 'em all, I think, is so easy to translate for kids. It's like, oh yeah, he's going off on an adventure. He's got to catch 'em all, and they battle, and he gets gym badges.
Right.
Like compared to, oh yeah, they get sucked into a computer, they get met up with their partner for life, and they have to fight the digital world because one of the bad guys is trying to corrupt the entire world, and he's sending off these black gears to control the other Digimon. But then there's also Digimon crests, so the heroes can upgrade their Digimon even further, but they can't force evolve their Digimon, or else that turns them into Skull Greymon, and that's not good.
Oh my God,
so they have to go back, and then there's other Digimons, and then there's armor Digimons, and then there's
a lot of different types.
And
of
the names are absurd. I think that's what's easy.
Are.
Pokemon has way easier names to adjust to.
Even though all Digimon end in Mon.
Yeah.
That prefix gets me. I don't know his name.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Nick. I don't really know any of the last two gens. If you were to show me a picture, I couldn't tell you.
True.
But because I'm not invested like I was. Like, I could tell you every single, 90% of the first 5 gens.
Yeah.
I could tell you based off their appearance. And I think it's because of how simple the appearances are. But if someone were to come up to me and say, you can only have one, the other one goes away, I don't think I could choose.
Between Pokemon.
Between Pokemon and Digimon,
because it's so hard.
How much I love the games.
Yeah.
The anime I watched hardcore, and when Ash finally became champion, I was, there for every second of it.
Yeah.
And I was emotional, and I was like, about time, 25 years, this is exactly how you should have done it. But Digimon is just so cool that it's more fun for me to watch Digimon movies and like go back to the old cast and hear the voice actors and the old show. But I think I'd have to pick Pokemon if that was the case because of what it's done for me, even though I think Digimon is cooler.
That idea of growing up with it, being very comfortable, finding a place of security with it, but gravitating towards the other because of it's not new, but it's more accessible now to us. I think Digimon is way more accessible to us now than Pokemon is. Because but also in the idea that there's limited material to consume. Pokemon just keeps going and going and going. We got Pokemon Sleep now. So like, good luck getting me to play that. I'm not going to put that on my phone.
What is that?
Like, you go to any store and they're bringing out the Pokemon card game for the phone.
Which I kind of want to play.
Yeah, because you can send
lie.
packs to your friends for free.
Yeah.
Like, you get 2 packs a day or something. You can open packs. Like, it's so... It brings in the trading aspect of Pokemon. That's also another thing that brings people together.
Yep. Adria, Pokemon Sleep is a sleep app where you sleep and then you get like experience points for your Pokemon and level them up.
Wow, they're covering all the bases.
Yeah. First they wanted us to walk all over the place. Now they want us to sleep. Like, make up your mind. What do you want me to do?
You walk all over the place, Nick, so you can sleep later.
Sleep. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. They're on a whole different level. I think Digimon just came out with a new card game, like, to bring itself back, but I think they're still so far behind. Pokemon comes out with a game, I'm like, when's the game announcement?
Right.
Digimon comes out with a game, I'll figure it out like 3 months after it was announced that it was a game, and I'm not really interested in playing it, you know? It's a tough battle, but I just think the anime has an edge.
And it's probably much bigger over in Japan.
Yeah.
Whereas Pokemon's big everywhere, but Japan has its niche markets, and that's where they make all of their money.
Having watched a lot of anime as well, I was thinking, watching some clips, just something we didn't talk about yet was all the music in the American version. And I just can only imagine, because like the music is probably amazing. Like whatever the Japanese background music is probably not a pop song, but I just imagine being like a Japanese or Asian viewer of some sort and then just watching the American version with like all the ska.
Yes.
The Digi-Rap.
But the soundtrack's a banger. I bought it for Brian.
Did you really?
Yeah. You can still buy it?
I bought it for you.
What? No.
I got it for your birthday one
year.
year.
Oh,
You own
yeah,
the
it's
CD.
ours.
Yeah. I think that's what the soundtrack, I think, in the new Digimon movie, The Last Evolution, the soundtrack was good, but I think sometimes in anime films, the score really undersells the moment sometimes, because it's like a symphony of like, so the final battle, I get why they did it, but it wasn't as amped as I felt when Omnimon showed up for the American version. Like, it was a very soft symphony orchestra butterfly feel to the final fight of it wasn't whimsical. It was like a beautiful, like you're being serenaded while they're trying to beat this villain. So I'm like, I get this is the last moment for them, but this is the animation doesn't match what music you're bringing me. So I think that's the one thing that separates. When America wants to do a movie, they're like, let's put the most banging track behind this.
It's interesting, the cultural differences for what gets people amped at the end of a movie. Because I think it must be that they totally jive with that sort of ending. You hear like the strings and the horns and everything, and then
it's time.
A big explosion at the end. And us, we're thinking, what was that? Like, what? It's like a waltz.
Yeah.
Now, Nick, the three of us kind of grew up with Digimon all over the place. But for you, coming back to this movie, did it bring back any memories, or like made you think, why did I miss so much of this growing up compared to other media that you consumed?
I did think about that because, watching it the other day, it's early spring right now. So this is the time when I usually get into anime, or I re-watch or rekindle old things that I did before, just for the nostalgia of it, especially if it's video games or anime. I had a blast watching the movie. So I did think about why didn't I keep up with this as much as I did, say, Pokemon? And it's probably because of the lack of selection for video games. I'm not the biggest sit down and watch something kind of person unless I'm really in the mood for it. I would rather play a game. I think I'm more responsive or receptive to playing a video game than watching a show. It probably takes the same amount of time, but that's just how my brain works. And the fact that we didn't have games that I could easily follow on the biggest gaming sites, or I would see it on like news outlets online. I didn't hear about them, so I didn't keep up with it. But looking back, this movie is definitely something that I could watch again, and I definitely want to see Revenge of Diaboromon again, or fully this time. Hopefully I can find it on VHS and pop it in the TV.
It was never released in America. It was only in Japanese. They dubbed it later, but it was never actually released.
Dang
That's why I'm waiting for this remastered where they give us all 4.
Well, I'll still find it. And
you can find a hard copy, like a copy of it somewhere.
Yeah.
But not physically.
I'll do my digging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like if I had access to more games from Digimon, I'd probably still be way more into it. But the feeling that I got watching the movie definitely sparked my interest again, despite it being very strange and hectic. It was still a super fun watch.
Nice.
The one thing I do think that is tough as a kid, if you do miss an episode, since it is more of a chronological story, it is tough to like jump back in. Like they do have a previously on Digimon thing. But I remember this one time, Dana, I'm sure you remember this too. Our parents were very strict about dinner time, and Dana and I were literally so glued to our TV that they would always have to yell down and say, "It's dinner time." My brothers would have to get us and stuff. And I remember we were in the middle of an episode, and I want to say it was the episode where where Biyomon digivolves into Birdramon, and we had never seen it before. And at the time when we were kids, I don't know if everybody else felt this way, but it felt like because there wasn't the internet like it is now, if you missed it, you were never going to see it again. That's what Dana and I said. And we were like, it's going to be like 5 more minutes and the episode's going to be over. And they were like, it's dinner time, girls, come upstairs right now. And I cried. Because I thought I'm never going to see this episode.
That's it. That was your opportunity.
Yep.
So
just crying over your plate.
That was our passion for TV back then, Dana and I.
Oh yeah, couldn't rip us away. We were the target audience of all of the shows.
I have a 4:30 premiere right before dinner time every 4 days out of the week.
Awful timing.
What a horrible time slot.
My final question for Adria and Dana is, what does Digimon mean to you?
Oh, I don't know. For me, it means like, when I think about it the most, I think about when Dana, Abby, and I would play Digimon. Like, I don't know if you guys did this, but almost everything that a show that Dana and I loved, we would like pretend to be the characters and like act out our own stories. So it means like a lot of summers of doing that. It reminds me of every summer spent together with our friends, and it just reminds me of summertime, just like the first episode of the show, and just like being a kid and like the possibilities of adventure.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Oh,
that is beautiful. I specifically remember like have such a fond memory of going to the Rogers Video in Bracebridge and renting the VHSs until they stopped holding VHSs, I think. And so watching the movie every single summer, like Adria said, and I agree about playing the people and being Mimi. And I think having so many opportunities to be like, oh, random person at the cottage, do you want to play Digimon with us too? You can have a character if you wanted.
But you can't be any of these.
Yeah, but you can't.
You can't be our favorite.
Yeah. You can be Joe.
Exactly. And yeah, just like, I think it was one of the few things that Adria and I were like, this is our thing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have uttered that to anyone in my shy girl phase. But now, like, here we are doing a podcast about that. And I just think it's like such a full circle, wonderful moment.
We definitely grew up in the right time.
I agree.
We had so many great shows, so many great media outlets, and so much thrown at us for as kids to love. and be attached to and to bond over.
And let us be creative.
Oh, I do have
did
one
not do
thing
that.
I can show you if you want. I have Digimon comic books
Yes, please.
that are old.
Sure.
If you guys have a second, let me
Yeah.
grab them. They're in my
Yes.
box.
I remember, I think I was at the mall with my mom one time. And do you remember in the old food court where it's where like Cinnabon is now? There was a convenience kind of store.
Yes.
And they had a spinning rack of comic books. The only time that I ever went in there, I forget, my mom she got like a pack of gum or something. And I have one Digimon comic book. I'm very curious to see if Adria has
it's
the same one. It's a white comic book.
Oh, I have that one too. Maybe I didn't grab it.
Stop.
I think I have that one too, but I have these ones, which are all about the evolution episodes, but I do have a white one too. Maybe I just didn't grab it.
Oh,
Yeah. So they're all the three. It says, as seen on TV on Fox Kids.
so cool.
Fox Kids. So yeah, these are one of my prized possessions, my very first comic books. Also bought in Bracebridge, so when we were at our cottage.
That is so cool. How long ago?
They are now put in sleeves because she met me. Before
Yep.
they were just
Hanging
around.
out.
I can see if there's
Yep.
a date on them.
How often did you read these?
Honestly, not that much, because I've mostly read this one because it was about Sora.
That is very fair.
I don't think there's...
I remember they were in our van for a while in like
Yeah.
a magazine rack.
2000 is when these ones came out. Of
So cool.
Cool. I can't believe you still have those.
course.
Of course, I wouldn't get rid of them. Now, was Digimon the movie the only VHS you guys had of Digimon besides... I know you guys had the first season, but did you have any other Digimon movie? Like,
Well, we didn't
where they
have
put
it. We
the
could
episodes together?
we could only rent it. We didn't own it, which is why it was so exciting in the summer.
Brian, did you give me a copy of Digimon the movie? You gave me Pokemon
I gave you
2003.
Pokemon. I don't think he gave you Digimon.
No. I might have it. I
You
can't
might
remember.
have it. You said you had it.
Okay, Brian, super serious question for all of you. Do you like the plastic VHS sleeves or the paper ones?
Ooh.
Plastic.
Really?
I used to.
There's something about the roundness on the side that really gets me.
I used to really like the plastic, but I've converted recently because I've bought a couple movies that I really like in the paper, and I think they kind of stack better and look a little cooler.
They stack better for
Yeah.
sure.
Ooh.
But I
The
know it's so
nostalgia of the paper ones looks cool, but I think there's something special about picking up a clamshell.
It does feel like Blockbuster when you get the plastic one.
it really does, yeah.
Super
Can
cool.
you open it just for the ASMR of it? Yeah, it's so awesome. It's
There
such a
was,
good sound.
In October last year, there was a convention in Windsor. It was like a comic convention, but there was a lot of celebrity voices coming.
Mhm.
And Joshua Seth was coming down. The voice, he plays Ty.
Oh,
But I wasn't down because we live in Bracebridge. So I was like, I forgot to give Dayna my VHS for her to go sign.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, what a time. It would have been great to meet him in person. So I think that about wraps up our venture into the digital world. And I want to thank everybody for listening. Comment below if you also feel the same way we do about Digimon. If you grew up with it, if you prefer it over Pokemon, who is your favorite character, what the Digimon movie means to you as an American audience member or anyone around the world. Let us know. This has been 2 Hours on a Sunday. I'm Brian,
I'm Nick.
and we'll catch you guys later.
Perfect ending for that cuckoo
love
clock.
the
That
cuckoo
cuckoo
clock.
clock.
You can hear that?
It happened
At
an
10
hour ago.
o'clock. Let me see if I have that white
Honestly-
version.
I'm so immune to it. I can't even hear it. I
Yeah.
can't even hear it at all.